welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. This is my sea hibiscus. I actually recently repotted this. Oh, I should probably look before I start this video, but it's got to be maybe 2-3 months ago. Got some wire on it. Chopped it way back. It's got a big chop here that I did. It was quite a bit taller. Just decided to make it a little bit of a smaller tree. And you guys might get a little tired of me talking about that darn hurricane all the time, but this thing did get flipped out of its pot and separated from it, and I had a lot of the substrate blown off. And I probably had to do, I don't know, 10, 15 emergency repots when I got home that day. And so it's potted quite a bit higher. But since it was such a recent repot, I thought about, I did actually take a couple of the other ones and actually took and like kind of did like an emergency repot after the emergency repot, if you will. Hard to explain. Since this one was recent, I didn't want to disturb it too much more, but it is growing quite healthily again. And a lot of people have given me comments telling me that I can defoliate these things once or twice a year. I've been watching a lot of the videos out of Taiwan where they have, this is just a common tree that they have. And they actually, once they kind of get a branch setting and everything, they actually defoliate it constantly. And since this one is faring well, looks really healthy, and the other one actually didn't really take a beating in the hurricane. It just it actually stood up, but it just looks really bad right now. I'm going to do a little bit of an experiment in that I think in those videos they defoliate constantly. As soon as the leaves get the big heart shape to them, and they're like hand big like this one, they just take and defoliate it, let them get this big again, defoliate it again. It's supposed to create a bunch of ramification. It is hard for me to tell sometimes exactly what they're saying with the, anytime you're going from any kind of an Asian language to English and subtitles, sometimes there's a real translation loss there. So I'm not sure if I understand exactly what they're saying, but I have seen a couple other people mention that in their videos. So I'm going to go ahead and just defoliate this whole thing. It's October 23rd. And hold on to this video and come back and document when I do it the next time and see what it looks like. I imagine at some point it's going to slow down a little over the winter. I'll just make sure I don't do it until the leaves get nice and big. All right, so what it's looking like. Wire is starting to bite just a little. So they had to reset a few of these branches after the hurricane, as this thing, like I said, really did get beat up. The other one stood up to the wind, and I actually think that hurt it a little bit. So it looks like it burned all the leaves off of it. I think it's going to survive, but it just doesn't look very good right now. Alright, and here we are, December 24th. I'm going to go ahead and hit it again. Alright, and now here we are at the end of May. I don't remember exactly what I said back in the video when I started it in October, but I did do that defoliation in October. I did it again in December. I've been kind of surprised that it has not put out a huge growth spurt in the spring like everything else is out there doing. And then I just kind of realized I've had this wire on since July, so maybe it's time to end this defoliating every so often experiment. I was watching some videos out of Taiwan, and sometimes the translation can be a little messed up, but I see that they take and they just constantly defoliate to get the leaves smaller and smaller. It has worked if you go back and look at the beginning, especially at the if you go back and look at my initial repotting video of this, of how big the leaves were at that time. But now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of do one last defoliation here, or not last obviously, but last for this video, I suppose. And actually I am going to prune a little off. So I'm going to hold off on that because I'm going to prune a couple of those branches here in a minute. Again, when I do this, the newer leaves are small and kind of lime green, and then the big ones are, you know, more heart-shaped and a lot darker green. I'm really just trying to take out the big darker green leaves. And then the apex, you guys can probably see there's a big chop scar right there. And, you know, the idea is I've been trying to let some of this go. And then there's this little awkward branch here. I almost decided right now I'd go ahead and just chop that to just that smaller branch. But I'd like a lot of growth on top of that scar so that that can continue healing. So instead I'm going to take out the smaller branch. But also though, I think this is just kind of going a little bit too tall there. And I'm going to just count on, you know, that should create a little extra movement in the apex. And this, there's a little sprout there, so that should give it a little extra branch. And then we'll go ahead and get this wire off. This wire's been on since July. And with the wire being on there that long, sometimes you just have to, or I found myself wondering if perhaps maybe that was stunting its growth a little bit. I'm going to cut a couple of these branches off that are kind of coming straight up. And I think that'll be about it for the day. Let this go for at least a few months and see what happens. I'm going to bring in my other tree here. Alright, and this is the other sea hibiscus I've got. It's got this huge chop scar here. The idea was I was going to try to let this just grow out and try to take care of that chop scar and then come in and chop it again. But it started getting, I am going to take off a few of these bigger leaves. It started getting this stuff, and I really don't know how to pronounce it, but it's a scale that I guess is it's called pink scale of some sort, I think is the nickname for it. There's a scientific name for it. But it only gets on sea hibiscus. And this tree has just been covered with it, and there's even still some evidence of it being here. I hate to even have it in this room here. I've had this sitting out in the driveway, almost with the attitude of, I hope somebody just takes it, because I've thought about tossing it. But it's just little fuzzy scale that it gets. I have been spraying this thing, and I've been using the systemic on it. And right now it's looking the best it's looked in a long time. Even with the scale, for some reason it's odd that it still grows, but all the leaves kind of come out a little deformed. And again, I've had it out in the driveway just to keep it apart. Mainly from that other tree I just had in here. I'll have to make sure and wash these pruners down with alcohol when I'm done here too. Really no evidence of it up here anymore, so maybe some of the treatments have been working. Definitely a lot of evidence down lower, not on that one. But if anybody's got any, tricks or anything that they know of that'll help get rid of that type of scale, it has just been all over. There's a bunch on these lower ones. At one point, I actually came close to just tossing the plant altogether. I don't really want to do that. I think I'm going to spray it again, and I guess just put it back in quarantine. Actually, as I brought it in, I was hoping, I haven't really closely inspected it for a while because it's been growing better than it has. No evidence up here. There was some down there. So hopefully I can spray it down lower and spray some of these. Maybe I'll take out as many of these older ones as I can so that the spray can reach everything a little bit better. I'll put it back in quarantine and hope the next time I inspect it, the evidence is all gone.